Well, Jonny, we're live. Thank you so much for being here. It's a true pleasure to have you here on the podcast. You know, I spoke to my father about how one of the many guests I wanted to get on here was you, especially when we had the chance of meeting properly 2 years ago, was it, when we had lunch together?
Indeed. We had lunch 2 years ago. And again, thanks a lot, Julian, for inviting me to that podcast. It's really amazing to be here.
Thank you.
And you are the son of one of my best friends. It's very lovely to be here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. When did we have that lunch? Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago. It was in the summer, I think, beginning of the summer. We had a lunch in one of my restaurants. Yeah. And it was quite cool, you know. And I always remember how nice it was, that I was really feeling to have a discussion with a family member. And you wanted to pay at the end of the lunch. I was a little bit upset about it.
Because so you said one of your restaurants, remember?
Yeah.
So how many more restaurants do you have?
Oh, actually, it was back in 2015. There is a friend of mine that, he was saying, hey, I don't find a very good Italian restaurant where you have Italian quality, but in a kind of, let's say, fancy, cool atmosphere. Mm-hmm. So he opened a first restaurant here in Madrid, an Italian one. And then with the time, the group of Enrico grew up from, now we are near to 8 restaurants, end of this year, 10 restaurants.
Wow.
Wow. A big adventure, and a lot of learning, you know.
What's the name of the restaurant, Jonny?
Oh, okay. The group is called Gruppo Pulcinella, but the restaurant which everything started with is Ornella. Okay. And we have already 2 Ornella, and then we look forward for the next steps in that business. No, it's amazing.
I remember it was delicious.
Oh, yeah. Really Italian.
I mean, so tell us a little bit about you. For people who don't know who Jonny necessarily is, tell us a little bit where you're from.
Okay, so always an interesting question. So my name is Jonny Pellegrino. I'm Swiss with Italian origin, but I lived in, I would say, 10 countries. I'm 47. So, I live in 10 countries, and I think I feel home everywhere. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that now I feel home in Madrid, thanks to the beauty of the country, the people, and also the opportunity the country is still offering.
Wow. Where were you born?
I'm born in Switzerland, in Bern.
Okay.
So really speaking German and getting, it was interesting because even my parents are Italian. I feel I have a mix of the German culture and the mix of the French culture. Mm-hmm. Because I grew up in a city called Bienne, near to Bern, where we speak 2 languages. I was used to see the newspaper in 2 languages, and somehow that formatted my brain in thinking in a more structured or more open way. And that's something I'm always say I try to get the best of the both worlds.
Yeah. We were just in Switzerland, and it's true that it's either the German or the French, and sometimes even the English. So they have the 3, right?
Now I always think a little bit annoying when you are sometimes in the French-speaking part. They still have this resistance to speak German, so they prefer to speak in English, even with all the Swiss colleagues coming from the German-speaking part. But I think that Switzerland is a good example, very familiar role model for many elements in the way the politics works, in the way you have chance to grow in that country, even in a little bubble. But there is a lot of concept can be learned out of Switzerland. Replicating them outside of Switzerland may be difficult because it's a very small country, but really lovely learning, and I'm very proud of Switzerland. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jonny. Just there's so much noise and I can hear it. I'm just going to pause 1 second. Perfect. Sorry about that, Jonny. So we were talking about Switzerland and how that's where you were born. So now how often do you go back to Switzerland?
I mean, I try to go at least 4 or 5 times a year. I still have family there. And I like to be still connected with Switzerland because it's a country that teach me quite a lot. I do believe I left Switzerland at the age of 27. Oh, wow. And already 20 years I'm living abroad, but I never lost the connection with my country because I still believe I have a lot to learn from the way this country works and a lot of value that are very profound in my way of working that I still get out from Switzerland. So I love to stay connected with that country.
Wow. Okay, so you have a very international background, right? Because it starts Switzerland. So tell us the story. After Switzerland, where do you go to next?
Oh, wow. That was interesting. First, I moved to Germany. Okay. That's where I lived for 2 years.
Where in Germany?
In Munich.
Okay.
In Munich. So an amazing city. That's where I started to see that actually the world is bigger than Switzerland. Yeah. That's a little bit the problem that I see some of my friends in Switzerland. If you remain in your comfort zone and in the bubble of Switzerland, somehow you see, hey, there is something more
to it
around the world. And so the move to Germany has been more for career step. On that time, I was working for Siemens.
Okay.
We were developing some new sales channel in Switzerland, and therefore I had to go in Munich. And that's where I started to see that, oh my God, Munich is a big city. For me, Munich on that time was a big city. Coming from Bern or Zurich, which is less than 1 million inhabitants, suddenly you are in Munich, a big city. It was amazing. And after that, I moved to South America, mainly doing business in Brazil, in Colombia, and then I stayed for a couple of years in Mexico.
Wow.
So,
wow. It was
amazing.
What was the best one out of all the countries you went to, Johnny?
Oh my God!
Living
one. Let's say Munich. What I really enjoyed in Munich is the style of the city. What we call the Münchner Schickeria. You know, the style. People are very stylish.
Yes.
So you learn how to dress up according to the occasion. I was really learning a lot about it.
Okay.
Then when I was in Brazil, I don't know if I can tell you podcast, I got surprised how bikini could be very small. But okay, that was the time in Brazil, but really enjoy to see the shock of culture. But I had it was problematic for me to get used to work in Brazil. Therefore, I decided to move to Mexico, which I don't know, the influence from North America, it was more matching my way of working and still having the South American style, Central American style with the North American style was a nice mix. So I really enjoyed being in Mexico. I felt a very great connection with Mexican people. They're very well educated and very nice and funny people.
Wow. That's a great answer. You know, I mean, I've had the chance like you also to visit so many countries as well, but you mentioned before about the bubble, how it's really easy to stay or to not get out of that bubble. So what's your biggest, or how did you said, I guess the way that you got out of the bubble was leaving the country and visiting, you know, going to live in Germany and getting out, right? What's your biggest advice though for somebody who maybe cannot leave the country but still wants to get out of the bubble?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting is really to be interested in reading or listening to international press.
Okay.
I'm a very addicted to media and news. My day started always by reading newspaper from different countries and from different tendencies, you know, from different political angle. And that's really opened my mind to see, hey, what is the first page in France? What is the first page in Germany? Then you get to learn what's going on around the globe. And also taking the advantage when you have a business travel to one location to spend time with the people, not flying in, having your meeting and flying back. So you have the opportunity to fly in, staying maybe one more night and spending a dinner with your colleagues and having a discussion which is not only oriented to the business but more about the country. Then you learn quite a lot. And that's been always one of my passion.
Wow. Okay. So then would you say for somebody who perhaps, let's say, is in Switzerland and is in that bubble, you know, even Dubai probably is another bubble, right?
Yeah.
Would you say then the best way for them to get out of the bubble without necessarily leaving the country is familiarizing themselves with different news outlets, media sources or stuff that comes from other countries internationally? Is that the biggest reason you'd say the biggest way?
Number one, this. And the second, if you travel just for pleasure or for a business meeting and you stay a couple of days, try to spend most of the time together with the local people.
Okay.
Because you know, let's say that you start a project and you want to start selling your solution, I don't know, to a French guys. You need to know what's going on in France. Even if you're staying here in Madrid or staying in Switzerland, you need to understand in which context your customer is in. Yeah. So by getting interested what your customer is in, automatically you are learning. Yeah,
great point. Wow. And is that why you'd say that you diversify into many different kinds of businesses? Because you have a restaurant. You also, I know you work with Nokia. You mentioned Siemens before as well. Yeah. Would you think that your international background has something to do with your ability to diversify into different kinds of ventures and industries?
Indeed. I do believe my culture as a Swiss guy to be confronted to different culture. You know, I was an Italian guy in Switzerland and I was a Swiss guy in Italy. I never been considered a local guy. Yeah. So that gave me this kind of flexibility and agility to understand the different culture very easily.
Interesting.
And on top of that, by speaking multiple languages, I do speak 5 languages. So it was very easy for me to enter in contact with the people. Okay. And that's what to say. It allows me to get very good understanding what's going on. But also, I have to admit, I've had the luxury to work for Siemens Group, then for Nokia Group. very international corporation that allowed me to travel and stay in other countries. So I've been lucky as well in this case. But I would say that this is also my own interest was there to go and visit other countries.
Of course.
And taking those opportunities.
Where did you start with Siemens?
Oh, I started in Siemens was I'm an engineer, mathematician.
Okay. Yeah, what did you study, Jonny? Tell us.
I studied mathematics.
Where?
I studied microelectronics in Switzerland.
Okay.
The University of Bern.
Okay.
And then I felt I was not in the right game. Because, when you don't feel you're in the right game, you're not passionate. So you're not passionate, you will not grow in this area. So I love mathematics for many aspects, but I want to have a job that gives me more contact with people. So I still remember when I decided to move on from the technical engineering part or R&D part to the sales part. It was for me a very important step because suddenly I was not in my lab with other R&D engineer talk about very specific topics. No, I was there in the world. I need to go out, see people, convincing people, suddenly moving to understand people, listening more to the people. Instead, when you are in a lab doing R&D, you have a problem which is written or which is clearly need to be solved. And when you're outside, you don't know what kind of question you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get as a problem from the customer. You need to help them to resolve. And that's what really showed me that I feel more comfortable in adversity than when you have a very structured plan around myself.
Which is the beauty of working with people, right? Instead of being, I think I'm like you more as well, that I could not stay in analytical kind of job where it's very laid out for me and structured, which is kind of the non-people kind of jobs. So I do like your answer in that. And would you say, so you mentioned passion and how you realized that wasn't for you, right? What signs did you have besides the passion? Like maybe two questions here. How could you describe what you feel to know that you were passionate about something versus not? And then the second question is, what are the other signs besides that one that give you like, okay, math wasn't my thing, or the analytical part wasn't my thing, and the people thing was more my thing? Yeah. If you don't mind answering those two.
Yeah. Look, I always think about what creates frustration, what creates satisfaction.
Okay.
And that's for me a very important element. Let me elaborate on that one. If you are not able to create even a minimal sign of satisfaction in what you're doing, it's showing you are not in the right game. Maybe you're not in the right game because you don't have the passion for that, or maybe you're not in the right game because you're still not mastering the skills for that, but also when you don't have the skills, maybe that's what motivates you to learn your skills. But I would say you need to try to create everyday satisfaction in what you're doing. Little satisfaction. If every time it comes as a frustration, then it comes procrastination, then it comes, I'm not motivated, let's do it later. Then for me is the first sign maybe you're not in the right game. And another part also that when I lived in Japan for a couple of months, even nine months, and I get to learn the concept of ikigai, which is a concept that I love, I use every day in what I do. What does the world need? What are you good at, and what you get paid for it? But also, what do you love? If you're able to do something that you love, and the world needed, that creates a kind of purpose, satisfaction. If you are doing something you are good at and you can be paid for it, that's what a profession is about. So, that creates also satisfaction because it's a kind of being recognized for what you are doing. If you have something that the world need and you can get paid for it, it's a vocation. A doctor, for example. We always say people work with people that are doctors or psychologues and so on. They do it because they have a kind of purpose what they want to achieve. So I think this full concept of ikigai is something I'm trying to assess myself quite regularly. Do I love what I do? I'm good at what I'm doing. Does the world need that, or does my company need that? And can I get paid for that? If I'm satisfied with what I'm getting as a return. And I love the concept because they put the money as one of the key element of those four area. Without any, some people don't want to talk about money. Hey, it is a very important element in your life, very important element in our life, because that's the way the world also is moving around, and that's the way also we measure sometimes the success, unfortunately.
That is a great answer, man. Thank you for that answer. I didn't know you lived in Japan. You didn't mention that before when you said
I lived in 10 countries,
yeah,
so we
too many to remember.
Too many to remember. They will pop up hours with
Every so often later we're gonna hear, oh yeah, my time in Hawaii was also great.
Oh, unfortunately not. No, I would say
Not yet.
The most exotic country, I have to say, where I had to very make a big effort to understand the culture, and that's where I discovered that being authentic is the best way, has been Japan and Russia.
Of course.
I think that's a two country where I said, hey, if I try to adapt to their way of doing, I'm not authentic anymore, so I'm not credible. So that's why I said, hey, even if I respect the Japanese culture, the way I had to communicate with them, had been at the beginning very difficult, but as soon as I started to take out those barrier of being afraid of doing something wrong according to their culture, everything went better.
Interesting. Interesting. I really liked what you said. I just don't want to forget that you said something when you're talking about the concept. What's the word in Japanese? You were saying?
Ikigai.
Ikigai. I said it well. Okay. And what does it translate to?
Ikigai, sense of purpose.
Sense of purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
I like what you said. And then you were saying you ask yourself every day, am I satisfied? Am I helping the world? Am I happy with what I'm doing? Do I know, basically, am I happy with my life's work and my purpose, in essence? How would you say, how do you ask yourself every day? Do you journal about it? Do you write? Is it just a self-dialogue you have with yourself? How do you go about asking yourself this question daily?
No, for me, there is an element. Is that staying daily for me is just when I have the certain task and so on. I try to really look by myself to say, hey, I know this meeting is required for my business, so it's a must. Okay. If you enter the meeting and you see that you have bring value, it's already a little satisfaction. But the way I do it, how I apply Ikigai for me in my daily work, is really to see if I feel always the same passion for what I'm doing. Okay. Because passion is one of the key elements of Ikigai, and everything what you do with passion, you're going to be successful. Because if you have a passion for something, you assume that you're going to be successful. And so you're going to make it work. Yeah. And that's, for me, I think the key driver for me. Hey, I'm still passionate what I'm doing. At the end of the day, even if I'm tired, but I feel satisfied, I have achieved something. Say, oh, I'm still good. I'm still on track.
And how would you go about finding your passion? Let's say somebody's listening in the audience and they haven't found their passion just yet. And honestly, it could be somebody who's 20, it could be somebody who's 50, somebody who wants to start their life at 30. It doesn't matter, right? You can find your passion at any time in your life. So
you evolve in the time. For me, for example, the first jobs I got at Nokia that allowed me to travel a lot, I was passionate of traveling so much. Yeah. I remember being 220 days per year traveling. Now you tell me this, I said, oh my God, that would be a nightmare. But I said, I was passionate about that. But I would say always what I recommend to the people that you understand what drives them, their passion, and really asking them if I'm in the right game. And to be in the right game, you need to feel to be an environment that allow you to make a mistake, that you feel safe. If you don't have this, it's a very risky situation. If you ask yourself if you are in the right game, also from the way, do you have the right skills? Because sometimes if you don't have the right skills, you can learn skills. That's the beauty of skills. You can learn them. So don't hesitate to ask other colleagues or to get a mentor, to get a coach that can show you, hey, you love to do that, but you still don't have the right skills. And take it as an opportunity, as a feedback to grow. So always seeking feedback. I would say for me, the best way to really see if you are on the right track, if you're on the right game, is to seek for feedback in order to understand if you have the right skills, if you have the right environment. And even if you do something you love, but the people you work with doesn't share the same value as you, at a long time you will be frustrated. If you need to fight for everything that you need to do, you need to talk with the people, it's not going to work. So you need to be honest with yourself. I'm not in the right game. And only by knowing you're not in the right game, automatically you're going to start open certain other option. And it happens to me. I had a very brilliant career at Nokia. I've been a director. I'm now VP at Nokia for all the procurement activities. And 2 years ago, I was in the transformation of Nokia. I helped the group to transform. I was traveling a lot, living in multiple countries, and so on for many years. And I was not happy at all. I was not happy. I was starting to feel, do I have the right skills for doing my job? Yes. Do I still want to continue always being challenged every day with new issue of the company and traveling a lot? No, I don't want to do that. So I start to realize I need to move out from that. Otherwise, I would not be satisfied with myself because I was not able to give enough time to myself. Before, it was okay. I was in the early 30s. I could give all my time, 20 hours per day, working at Nokia and having party and dine and enjoying that. And they say, no way, now you cannot do that. I want to take time for myself. So I decided to move to a more operational role with a clear organization, with a clear team. And it was nice. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. So be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself and ask for feedback.
And have you always been honest with yourself, you'd say, or is this something that you evolved, right? It's like I like a lot how you said you're evolving. And I liked how you answered the question. You said, I asked you, how does one go about finding their purpose? And your answer was, in a way, you're saying not that you don't, but you do many times as you evolve, right? And I think one notion I like a lot is the idea of your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, anything you want to pursue with your purpose and as a whole. Because I think what makes up your purpose is your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, everything, right? So let's say that's your purpose. I think if your idea is you're going to evolve with life, and as you grow up, you evolve, so will those goals, dreams, aspirations, and in a way, you'll never reach them. Theoretically, you'll never reach them because once you've reached them, they've gone on to the next level, and you've gone on to that next level as well, right?
Yeah, but that's very quite classic. We always say, let's enjoy the journey instead of enjoying the arrival. I say typically when you ask a certain question, when does your holiday start? I asked this question to one of my mentoree a couple of weeks back. I asked him, when does your holiday start? Mm-hmm. Oh, after a couple of days that I'm arrived and I'm disconnecting. I said, oh, wow. I was sad for him. Yeah. And I asked him, so how do you make it happen that your holiday starts when you're starting packing your suitcase at home?
And what does he say?
He would look at me. Why? But because when you start already packing your suitcase and you think, oh, what am I going to bring with me? You're already projecting you on a holiday, being already cool on holiday, relaxed and so on. When you arrive at the airport and you project yourself, oh, finally I'm going to arrive myself, but you're enjoying the journey, then when you arrive, you're going to be already disconnected. Yeah. And that's what I say. In you can have objectives. Your objective can change. You can add new objectives. I never had an objective to be in the gastronomy business, but suddenly I found it very inspirational to be in a restaurant, knowing that I'm part of this success. Oh, I want to be in that one. So it can change. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's okay. We don't want to be, I don't know, if anyone wants to be the president of the United States, okay, maybe something different, because the chance of success are very small, but set every day your objective, and they might change, and enjoy your journey. And when you are along the journey, they might change. It is also okay. I will not put any kind of pressure of creating some anxiety, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. No, let's evolve them.
That's a great answer, man. I like that. And I think it's cool to see you also. I can see from your answers, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I can see that you've definitely taken learnings from one industry, like the restoration or the gastro industry, and you take it into even the Nokia one, the tech kind of industry. And it's cool, like how similar or how useful has it been to take because it makes you, Jonny, it makes you very unique as a businessman, having taken some scale or something you've acquired from the gastro world and then maybe using it in a meeting in the tech world. How often do you see yourself taking stuff from the different industries and applying them?
Yeah, it's interesting because, when you work in a big corporation like
Nokia,
I do, a lot of elements are very abstract. Mm-hmm. They're abstract because you don't really understand. At the end, we speak about big values and big amount of people. When you go then in small organization or in the gastronomy, which is very physical, it's just touch thing. You provide a dish to someone. The customer satisfaction is direct.
Yeah.
If someone likes your pasta or doesn't like your pasta, you know what it is.
Yeah.
So even if I'm not an expert, but when I see with Enrico, that's my partner in the restaurant, he's such a passionate guy. So what I see in common, Enrico and myself, he's passionate about what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's passionate. He's passionate to be able to choose what kind of coffee we need to bring to our customer. how we can make sure they feel that we make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this passion that he has, and my passion I have for the Italian food, is something I try to bring also in my work. That, hey, be passionate. But something also what I see, that in a small scale, you need to make much more decision daily in a small enterprise than in a big corporation. So what brings to me is to be much more agile and quicker in making decision.
In the restaurant, right?
Yeah, because in the restaurant, if something doesn't work, you need to act very quickly.
Of course.
And even today with social network, that a couple of weeks of bad quality out from the kitchen, it has a major impact in the social network.
A couple of hours of bad quality.
Even a couple of hours, I would say. A couple. So it's so direct, the impact, that allow me to be much quicker and really prioritizing what is very urgent and important versus what can wait.
Of course.
And in the big corporation, we have a tendency to make everything important. No, this is not everything important.
That's cool. And I think that's what makes you very unique, because I think a lot of people in the tech world don't necessarily have a restaurant or have seen those smaller scale yet very important decisions. So for you, it's a good quality that I think gives you a competitive advantage in the field.
Indeed. Being diverse and being open to anything, it's what brings every person to be unique.
Yeah.
It's learning new skills, getting feedback, and learning by doing mistake. It's the best way. I have a couple of companies that never saw success.
Yeah.
Even do remember once I was. Oh my God! Now I just remember that it was a company, a friend of mine. She was my ex-girlfriend, so that's a big learning. Never do business with a girlfriend. Never. It's better not to do it. So, but she launched. She wanted to work in the fashion industry. She wanted to launch a brand of bikini, and we launched the company together. I helped her to launch this company. It had been a disaster, and one of the learning is that she only had the passion about that. But we were not understanding how the industry works. We haven't put enough weight on learning how this industry works. Because I had no clue about this business. She was more coming from the fashion, but how to mix that together. So we were not honest enough, like I was saying earlier, to recognize here we are missing certain skills.
Interesting. So I guess the conclusion here, or the advice here, is passion is one thing, but passion usually comes with a willingness to know more about it and have more knowledge and learn about it, right? So technically, maybe if you're not willing to do the research, it means you're not really passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was doing because it was my partner. I was doing that because it's my partner, not because I was passionate about it. Yeah.
Of course.
And you come to one thing. It said, to be honest with yourself is what helps you to be also more authentic. Because if you're honest with yourself, you know what are your weaknesses. And if you know your weaknesses, you are able to take with you people that can, let's say, compensate those weaknesses, or you can learn to improve your weaknesses. So being honest with yourself, it's like you try to climb on a mountains made out of mirror. You see only yourself, and they're very slippery. So be careful.
That's a great point. I want to ask you about you said you worked with your partner and stuff, but I want to get you some water. Let's take a little break, and we come back and we ask about your partner. I have some questions about that. So we're back. So Jonny, I want to ask you about, you mentioned how you were, we don't have to talk about it too much, but I just want to know a little bit. You said that you had worked with somebody who was a partner. So she was with you in the personal sense, and you decided to take it professionally, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Can you walk us through that a little bit, and why perhaps would you not? You recommend that you said, you're not going to do it again, right?
Yeah. No, look, I will not do that again, and I did the mistake a second time even. So let me say why I don't do it again. Because
twice.
Because if you try to do something just to please someone, which is your partner, if it can be your partner, your wife, doesn't matter. If you do something just to please, this will be a problem.
Yeah.
This will be a problem. And
wait, you say please as opposed to what?
Let's say it the way, if you want to do something just to please someone, it means you're not doing because you are feeling you have to.
Okay.
And that's what is a wrong starting point. I cannot tell you exactly why, but I noticed every time when I started doing, just with a sense to please someone, and without being convinced is the right thing, it's going to create a conflict. And I can give you some consequence that can happen. Because at the end, when the things start to be successful, no problem. But when things start to be unsuccessful, suddenly you are part of the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it's very, very important to separate things very clearly. You can do business with your partner, with your wife, with your husband, doesn't matter. Yes, you can do a kind of business. But both need to be convinced we want to make it happen. You know, when you look the first year of Jeff Bezos, when together with his wife, they decided we want to try, we want to be successful. Both of them really dedicated themselves to create this business, to create Amazon, because both believed in that. But someone, your partner, said, "Hey, you know what? I want to open a chocolate factory." And you say, "Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. You open a chocolate factory and so on. But you're just gonna do it because you want to please her. This will not be successful."
And is that what you did in that case? You did not know about fashion, but she did, and you wanted to please her.
Yeah.
And that's what, and that was
exactly.
So would you say that perhaps the important part is to set out the groundwork of what you expect and what I expect before embarking on that journey?
Exactly. Even you need to have those unpleasant discussions.
Of course.
Without the emotion. But when you love someone, there are emotions.
Of course. So how do you go about having those unpleasant conversations?
Yeah, and that's why I had to learn that with the time, is to speak openly and try to read it. You know, I'm divorced, so maybe it's not. I'm not the guy that should provide advice. But something I know, what I did a mistake, is that when you start to having certain conversation, to also have the unpleasant one. And if you look again, the unpleasant one is really to discuss what are the key difference. You know, in that time, I would have said, look, in order to really be successful in that business, in the fashion, I mean, it's a lot of investment. You cannot do it by starting small and then let's grow. You really need to go big. And if you want to pretend to work together with big stores that should take a full collection of your bikinis, it means a lot of pre-investment as well. And if all the case was based in the fact that the money should be put on the table and let's see if we are successful, this was something that we should have taken this decision together. And I was not clear enough to say, okay, if we enter that risk, we take the risk together. But I didn't want to enter in that way, because for me it was looking like to say, I don't believe in your idea. But instead of to say I don't believe, I should have said, look, I need to understand better before we engage in that journey. And I didn't do that.
I like what you just said. You have to understand better. I think that's the number one mistake that we don't do when we have these unpleasant conversations. People don't go, or we don't strive to understand. What we do instead is we ask you the question and then we don't even listen to the answer. We go straight to tell you my criticism, my feedback, my tip, you know. And I think that was the thing of, I need to understand what my partner wants. And say in this case, you're saying your ex-partner, she wanted to do the fashion world. Maybe you should have asked more questions as to why, what's her purpose, what's her passion, what does she expect out of it, where does she want it to go, right?
Yeah, and speaking also the worst case scenario, you know, some people don't like to, you know, if you believe you're going to be successful, you might be successful.
Yeah.
If you believe you're being unsuccessful, most probably you're going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
But having this negative discussion, what if, you know, and debate together with your partner, what if this happened? Okay. And this is what I think it's coming to a conclusion that for me it's very difficult to separate emotion when you are in love with someone. It's very difficult to disconnect the emotion. And somehow in business you need to be more rational. Even at the end you can make a decision which is half rational, half emotional, but you need to be able more rational. And when there is a love connection with someone, I think it's difficult.
I think if you love them so much, then I think that you would have you can find a way where you don't enable them. I think this is the difference. Like if I meet with my partner, I can love her so much, and I do love her so much, but if I see that she's doing something that doesn't necessarily benefit her from an outside point of view, because where we're standing as opposed to them, we're outside. We're an outside. And yes, we have a vested interest. Yes, we care about them. We want them to succeed. But if I see she's doing something that's not necessarily good for her, then what kind of partner am I if I don't say something about it?
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed. And that's the thing. That's why I said I would say that in the two way that you need to be very honest again, and need to be open to this unpleasant discussion, and don't believe this is going to have an impact. And maybe it is a proof that if you are not feeling comfortable to open unpleasant conversation with someone you think you love, maybe it's not the right person. And this is
that's a sign.
That's a sign.
You're
Maybe
right.
it was a sign. Yeah.
You're right. I just know it's not easy. I've met a lot of people who have told me that specific thing of, it's really hard for me to know how to tell my partner how I really feel, so I'd rather keep it in. But I think that's an issue. Once you keep it in, at the end, you're going to end up resenting them, one, or two, it's all going to boil up, and it's going to stay inside of you, and then it'll come out one day, and terrible, no?
You know, but think about, if you feel uncomfortable about something that you're not able to speak up, it's going to automatically going to put yourself in a way that you're going to need to act like everything is okay.
Yes,
it's not.
And you're acting.
You're acting, so you're not anymore authentic. It is something that always, every time, the more I think, I give leadership training within Nokia to new person and so on, and mentoring certain element. And I always said, doesn't matter what you do, it is private life, business life, or with your friends, family, always be authentic. Because you're only going to be able to act for a couple of seconds. You're only going to be able to act maybe for a couple of weeks. But if you need to act every day, the one that's going to pay, it's you.
Very well said.
It's yourself. So that's why I said, I prefer to have to be authentic and make mistake, but be myself instead of trying to act a person that I'm not.
Beautiful. Wow. You're a poet, Jonny. Wow.
No, but it's...
no, it's very, very
with
well
the
said.
age you learn,
Yeah,
learning from mistake is perfect.
I know.
There is never... I don't say you do mistake. There is learning that you have on the past.
It's an opportunity.
An opportunity to learn anything.
I know. Someone was saying, I don't know if it was the guest who was here before you last week, he said how you want to, he says, one, you can never make a mistake. It's not like you just said. But two, you want to get all those failures and mistakes out of the way first, because the more you can do them, the more you learn, and the better it gets then.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool. The first thing that came to my mind when you mentioned how you give those leadership talks, I want to ask you a little bit about, how is it cross-culturally? Because I understand that you have employees from all over the world, people who work with you and for you that are from. So we're talking about communication here. Before we're talking about it from a personal level with your partner, let's talk about it a little bit in the business sense. How do you go about communicating with somebody who culturally might have different? Because what I'm trying to say? It's like somebody who's in Asia, they have different ways of doing business, different ways of signing deals, of shaking hands.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you can learn. I mean, this is something, skills you can learn.
Of course.
For example, when I arrived in Japan, I knew you will not confront people within a meeting to a decision that has not been pre-agreed before the meeting. Of course, you cannot imagine to come into a meeting to have arguments, discussion, to make a decision. So before going to the certain meeting that were for decision making, I had to pre-brief the people, so more steps, but you can learn that. But something I think that it fits for any kind of communication is to be very honest in what you communicate, and being transparent. Because what creates uncertainty is when you are not transparent. Of course, you can do that when you're doing that towards your team internally, and you're going to select what can I speak openly, what I cannot speak openly. And there are a lot of people that try to avoid the bad messages and try to focus only on the good messages. And if you focus always on the good messages, you're going to create instinctively a reaction to the people. Come on, it is everything so great. What is wrong? People are getting suspicious. So something that for me works in any kind of culture is really honest and transparent communication. Where you need to adapt is when you are meeting those people face to face. Today we are communicating a lot. Even in my company, I have something like 600 employees spread across the globe. When I communicate to them via Teams meetings or all hands call meetings and so on, I have a quite clear communication which is set, and I go through, I don't want to say my script, but through the point I want to communicate very openly. But when I meet face to face with the people, or when I'm traveling there, or I have a meeting with a specific country, that's where I need to adapt my language.
And how do you go about that?
I mean, you get to know your team. I know when I'm in India, I need that people a lot of they love to be rewarded and recognized.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put more pressure in the rewarding and recognition of the people. If I'm working in the US, I'm going to be much more pragmatic. I'm going to go to the facts. I'm going to go to the point. I don't make any kind of nice long sentences like maybe you need to do when you're in the UK. But I would say you get to learn the different culture. The message could be the same, but you bring it with a different tone, you know.
Which is fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun, you know. For example, bringing humor in a discussion in Asia, sometimes it's not really accepted. So you try to avoid having humor when you present in Asia. While when you're presenting in Europe, South European country, if you bring a touch of humor, even they will appreciate because they're going to feel you are connecting with them. So without starting acting, you can adapt your leadership style, but you cannot avoid to have your own one that's always going to prevail.
Yeah, well, very well said. It's still Johnny, but there's Italian Johnny, there's Asian Johnny, Indian Johnny, right? Who
exactly
you kind of, that's cool. I like that. You adapt it accordingly.
And you know, I always say to connect to creating bonds with the people. It's, you know, if you know a couple of words in the local language, even sounds a little bit short, but it helps. You know.
How far it goes very far, right?
Yeah. You know, a little trick. I always say to the people, be careful to know the name of your people. You know, if I have a small meeting, I'm entering the meeting, just try to speak out the name correctly. It never think worse than someone speaking your name in a completely different manner. I do remember one time I was in a meeting in Singapore, and I had one British guy with me. He was a fantastic guy, very open, very funny. People loved him a lot, but he was unable to remember the names of the people. And he told me, it's quite a funny anecdote. He told me, "Hey, Johnny, why you don't speak about this with Mike Healy?" I said, "Sorry, I have no clue. With whom?" "Yeah, your friends, you know, your Italian friends from Rome." "Ah, Michele, you mean?" And I would like to bring this light example because even in that discussion that we are good friends, he was pronouncing his name Mike Healy on a very British way instead of just say Michele. So try to learn how to pronounce the name of the people you're interacting with in the right manner. That gives you only points.
And if you don't know how to pronounce it, ask them.
Just ask it. No way, no problem.
I don't know why people like. The other day I was doing that exactly, and I asked someone. His name was a name I had never heard before, and before I started the call, I said, I want to make sure, like, is this how we say your name? And he said, no one's ever asked me that.
Spot on.
And he says, you, and I asked him, so what do you do? When I said, let me guess, most people pronounce it wrong, like the way I would have. He says, yes, they do. And then what do you do about it? It's nothing. I just let them.
Yeah, that's why. But you know, if you have a more introverted person, he will just accept. If you're a more extroverted person, he might stop. Hey, that's my name. But
it's also
asking is the best. Yeah. Asking is the best.
You ask and you make them comfortable. One, and two, it also shows that you have the emotional intelligence to read and understand the situation a little bit, right? No, it's interesting. It's interesting. I just think speaking up. This is a very low way of speaking up. Somebody saying, hey, that's not how you say my name. It takes a little bit of balls, I think. Some people don't have it. But sometimes I think when you don't speak up like that, it speaks a lot about the kind of person you are in terms of what other opportunities are you deciding to also not speak up.
Yeah.
You know? Because like your food comes during lunch. Let's say at your restaurant, a client comes. And I'm sure you've had clients like this. So their food comes, it's a little bit too cold, or their table is too close to the bathroom or to the entrance, or their wine is too warm. Many clients complain, and I think it's a double-edged sword, because if you complain, good for you. It shows that you're paying for a service and you have every right to complain. Yeah. Now, how do you complain? That's the important part. But the other kind of person chooses not to complain, and that means that they're more agreeable. They're choosing not to deal with that societal pressure. What do you think of that?
Exactly. You know, I like the example. Even I'm not confronted on the daily operation in the restaurant,
of course,
but this is a fantastic example why I believe that working in a restaurant in service, it's the best school to learn to listen, understand how to behave, and so on. Because you know, if you just react or you don't speak up, you know, you have different. Let's continue with the example of the restaurant. The customer that don't speak up, but then as soon as they arrive at home, he write you a Bible because he's still frustrated. You know, he's still frustrated. Oh my God, the pasta was not good. But if you think the client, that the customer in the restaurant, he speak up and tell you, hey, the guy that served you, he had the opportunity to make it better,
Yeah.
to create this problem as a good element. I always like I call that always the Mercedes E-Class effect.
Why is that?
When Mercedes in the 90s launched the first Mercedes E-Class, that was looking awful and ugly, but that's not a discussion. It was looking like a very small minivan.
Okay.
So having the center of gravity much higher, and Mercedes doesn't have any let's say experience in building such a small car. The car in the curve was not stable, and the car could have starting rolling. So just imagine Mercedes brand, which is recognized for quality and so on, and they recognize, yes, we had an engineering issue, and they communicate properly how they have resolved these engineering issues, and at the end, the A-Class has been a big success. So, and that's again, speaking up in the right way. Okay, in this case, it was an accident on the road, unfortunately, I would say, but at the end, Mercedes has been able to speak up in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I said, sometimes it's better you stay quiet. Silence is also very powerful, but sometimes you need to speak up and make it works. And avoiding talking about issue, the famous expression, the elephant in the room, that nobody wants to talk about it. Hey, let's bring it on the table.
Yeah.
Let's bring it on the table.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
I love the way you explained that. I think I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it's finding the balance of when should I choose to speak up and when should I not? Because like you said it very well. I think silence is the number one most powerful nonverbal cue. Truly believe it. And I think sometimes you say so much more without saying a single word.
Completely agree.
And I think that's one thing that a lot of people nowadays we struggle, especially in an online world. You need to know how to use your nonverbal cues because they're not there. Like they're just not there. So you need to make up for them in the online world. That's the one thing. But to go to the example of the restaurant, knowing when to speak up, the way that I've come to understand, because for example, it's a funny little anecdote. But when I started, I was in Montreal. I had just studied in Montreal. Remember, you asked me before what I had studied, and I went to study in Canada. And I think it was my first semester there. I needed to get a job I wanted to get a job to make some pocket money, and I got a gym. I got a job at a gym, but I had applied to a restaurant, and I had applied to Uniqlo, the Japanese company. And I remember the salad bar, the restaurant I applied to. We did an interview, normal, whatever. They were very sad to announce that they could not take me in. Okay, that was fine. Uniqlo, I hadn't heard back yet. And then the gym interview, I went for my first interview on Zoom, and it was the first interview. And the call ends, and how does she end the call? The woman, the supervisor, she says, "Great, we'll see her tomorrow at 9." And that was my chance to speak up, Johnny. That was my chance to say, like, I was thinking, like, this is not the way they do interviews, man. And I thought maybe they do it differently in Canada, but this is not the way they do interviews, right? Like, don't I have a choice in the matter? Don't I have to say? I don't know. I was so young. I think I was 18. I think my mind thought maybe once you apply, you're automatically interested, and you cannot say no.
Yeah, but I think there is a generational topic.
You think?
There is. I think I like to see the differentiation in the generation,
Mm-hmm.
and I see the difference also when now, let's say I'm an X generation. You have the millennial, now the Z generation, and the way you approach your career, the way you expect to have, so it's completely different.
Yeah.
What I see, for example, the millennial and that generation even more. They really want to have an understanding what is the purpose for me for doing this.
Okay.
They want to have even the capability to ask a question, to understand, because and okay, maybe we can agree or disagree on certain question. While maybe my generation, if you apply for a job, is because you want to have it. So they want to give it to you. Hey,
you got to take
that's the
it.
job. You need to take it.
And that's what I thought. I think that's where my thought came from.
Yeah. I think it was a miscommunication, or let's say a verbal miscommunication due maybe a generational change, and maybe the person that was giving you the interview said, "Hey, if this guy is applying, it's because he wanted. So I give it to him. It's fine. I don't need anything more."
I agree with that, but that doesn't take away from me having my ability to speak up, and that's what bothered me, because I didn't have the ability to. As soon as the call ended, I started thinking to myself, dang, like now I have to show up tomorrow because tomorrow I cannot bring it up anymore. It's too late. I should have brought it up in the moment, and I'm going to be a man about it, and I'm going to go tomorrow. That was one. But two, it also made me think instantly of what other opportunities am I not speaking up to? The next time I go to a restaurant, my meal is the wrong one. Am I not going to speak up? Like maybe I was overthinking it, but it really led me to think like There's this little instance here with the interview. Does it speak for every other instance that I will not speak up into, you know?
Correct.
And that really bothered me for a while, you know?
I can imagine, because it's like a missed opportunity. A missed opportunity, and you know that there is always this dilemma. Every time you make a decision, you're gonna drop something else. In French, we call it le dilemme cornélien.
Okay.
You know, but you know, you're always gonna to drop something when you make a decision.
For sure.
There is no decision that always gonna, you can get everything.
Of course.
You know,
Which is the beauty sometimes of it, huh?
Yeah,
but it's like in business.
Yeah.
If you were assured in business that you were going to get what you set out to get from the beginning, then you wouldn't do it. Like the beauty of not knowing, and that you're putting in the risk and you're putting in the efforts, and that you're going to invest or do whatever, invest your time into something that may not even happen.
Yeah.
Is what's
it's like we say in negotiation, we call it that the BATNA, the best alternative to the negotiated agreement. And you know, if you have an alternative, you will always feel comfortable to speak up and so on. If you don't have an alternative, even the offer you have on the table is not fitting, you are going to be much more hesitant to stretch even further. Job interview, let's continue with the job interview. If you had alternatives, maybe you had to speak up instinctively because you were feeling relaxed, but you have for some time yourself, hey, I need a job, I want to have a job. At the same time, you didn't have a other alternative already real. So this lady just said, okay, see you tomorrow. He said, yeah, if I start to speak up, maybe I will. Maybe in subconsciously, you were not having an alternative, so you didn't want to lose the alternative.
And it's true, I didn't. And then, funnily enough, the next day, I go to the gym. In the afternoon, I'm walking back home, and I get the phone call from Uniqlo saying, "Hey, you got the job. When can you start?" And this is how I learned that I could say no.
Yeah, you can say no. That's
I said, "Sorry, I already started somewhere else. I can't."
Okay.
And it's funny how the world works, because just to make a long story short, is I think my first or second day at the gym, that first week at the gym, I'm learning my supervisor's teaching me how to sell, which is funny, and I'm learning how to do this and whatever. And some guy walks in, like a guy who was looking for a membership at the gym. So I had to shadow the supervisor to see how to use the system and understand it. Anyway, the fashion designer walks in. It's a fashion designer who walks in. I just spoiled the story, sorry. This fashion designer walks in, and the one who you met actually last week at dinner, Franklin.
Yeah. I do.
Worked for 25 years in Milan.
Fantastic.
That's how and he told me, the guy is selling to Franklin, and he's like, Julian, look, I'm going to sell to him a membership. And I'm looking, and then Franklin is not giving him a single ounce of attention. And he's like, young man, have you considered doing modeling? And I thought, is he talking to me? Like, I had to pay attention. And he's like, looks again. He repeats the question. I said, are you talking to me? He's like, yeah. And I see my supervisor just looks up and like this. And then his supervisor is like, so are you interested in the membership? And Franklin is like, you should consider doing modeling. You're very tall. You should consider doing modeling. I said, okay, thank you. And then he says in front of my supervisor, they'd pay you more than what they pay you here. I said, oh my goodness. I said, okay. So I consider it. And then I remembered his name, because when he did the membership at the end, he said he gets the membership, he spelled out his name. So I remembered it. The guy goes to do his workout, never hear of him again. And the next day I go to LinkedIn and I find the name. I remember Franklin. I put the name and everything. And a whole month went by, nothing. I still continued working at the gym. I think I worked at the gym for 4 months. And by the time those 4 months were over, Franklin finally answered me. He gave me his WhatsApp. We communicated a little bit. And he told me, I think you should consider doing the modeling. Let me help you. So he started helping me. And then by the time January came, I got my first modeling job. And I earned more in that one job than I did in the 4 months. I can
imagine. But always takes the best from what is coming on.
Of course. Yeah, but it's funny, if I would have spoken up, maybe I would have not.
Yeah, but you would have spoken up. But like I said, I do believe, there is one element that I don't know if you have read the book from Steve Jobs, the biography of Steve Jobs. He was always speaking to connecting the dots. Okay. Things happen for certain reasons. Sometimes we can explain, sometimes we cannot explain. But at the end, it's taking the best advantage for where you are in. For sure. You didn't speak up, you got this job. Okay, you opened this opportunity. You had work in Uniqlo. Maybe the guy in Uniqlo would say, oh my God, the next catalog of Uniqlo, you're going to make it with you. You don't know.
That's a good point.
But if you don't need to entertain yourself. When things have happened, it's gone. It's okay. Maybe you have learned something. Hey, maybe I should speak up in certain situation, yes or no. But you should not entertain yourself with the past, because you cannot change. So it's kind of only giving regrets, bad feeling, and so on. It's happened. And that's it.
Which I think is what I've used now to kind of calculate if I want to speak up or not. I kind of ask myself, very quickly, I do a very quick mental calculation, and what potential harm will it do to me, to my future self, if I don't speak up right now? And if I see that's a little bit more than a significant kind of harm, where, again, I know what you're saying. You're saying there's no even point to overthink it and just do it. But I think if I quickly think about it, okay, right now my gut is telling me it's time for me to speak up, then here it is. I'm going to speak up and just not live with that regret.
Trust your gut all the time.
Yeah.
Trust it. I think with one good thing that comes with age is that you trust yourself more with the time, because you have seen many of these situations. And I do believe this is, even we try to make rational decision, when it's a decision that impacts yourself, you need to feel connected with this decision emotionally. Yeah. And if you feel emotionally, you decide not to speak up, you decide not to say it, that's fine. This is fine. I think the people that grew up in my generation, we try to be too rational in everything we should do. What is a good career? A career that you have at least 2 years in it. I should suffer 2 years in a job that I don't like? No. And also I see that the demand of the new, the millennial and the Z generation, we were doing a career to be an expert in what we're doing and working for 20 years in the same business. Today is not like this. We are in a world that, hey, what can I learn from that? What can I build on top of that for my next steps? And then you can move around. This is not an issue. Of course, someone that every 3 months or 6 months is hopping from one position to another, he said, yeah, maybe this guy still need to find himself. But if you build something in 2 years, you can do an amazing amount of stuff in 2 years.
So true.
So, fantastically, you can learn new skills. After you can prove it, then you can master it. After you master it, hey, what is my next challenge? What is my next challenge that can provide me the little dopamine boost that I need to go to the next one?
Especially in the online world, right, Johnny?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, look at me. I'm able to learn. I can become. Anybody can become an expert in anything they want by just studying YouTube and spending hours on it. And you can acquire incredible skills. You can acquire how to become a web designer, a copywriter,
everything,
a salesman, a marketer, anything you want. It's cool, right?
And what I love today, there is a lot of new elements that are coming that are very more and more important. For example, now we are speaking about artificial intelligence is a key element, and you have people that get specialized in as a prompter.
Yeah.
What is the right prompt I need to write to get the right answer? And so people are afraid about this technology, this evolution. Of course, the pace of technology and innovation that we have in the last 20 years is just tremendous. And that's why I say I can understand that certain people can feel overwhelmed. But if you let it come and you learn about it, and you don't try to put barrier on top of it. Some friend of mine, lawyer, that I provoke them always a little bit to say the first job to disappear thanks to artificial intelligence is amount of lawyer. We don't need so many lawyer. No. Sorry to be in Spain, we have so many lawyers in Spain. So okay, that's another topic. And I said, don't be afraid, because I said you can learn a lot of this new technology. You can get different type of jobs that are going to be created. Yeah. So don't be afraid about technology. Let's just make sure that we are not crossing certain ethical barrier. But if we don't cross those ethical barrier, everything is an opportunity.
Very well said.
Everything is an opportunity.
I think that ties into what you mentioned earlier. You said how anything that can be learned is therefore a skill, and the more skills you can acquire, the more leverage you have.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think that's what you think. You gave great advice to your lawyer friend. What did he answer?
Oh, look, he started to look at it differently, because when you show to the people, if we stay a little bit on this example, artificial intelligence can at the end help your customer to be more satisfied about the answer you're going to give. Today I always said, when you have a customer coming to you and asking one question, or maybe you're deviating to technology, but I love technology as well.
Okay, I can tell.
It's fine. And you deviate on that. A customer is coming for you, a client. What do you want to know? What are the chances for me to winning this case? That's what matters for him. And if you have a high chance to win the case, he's going to pay for you. Otherwise, he will not pay. And you as a lawyer, you don't need to give a feeling, hey, very quickly. So today you get the case, you know the law, you're gonna maybe have some other study, other case that got already to a final decision, and based on that one, you're gonna estimate if you have a chance to win, yes or no.
Yeah.
With artificial intelligence, you don't need all of this. Artificial can bring you this answer very quickly to your customer. But what it will require from you as a lawyer, you're going to be serving more customer, more clients, because you can act more rapidly. And at the same time, using technology to get a better service. So take it as an advantage. Don't try to avoid to push that back, because if you push back something which is coming anyhow, you're going to be alone on the train station, and the train going to be already 200 kilometers away. So that's why I say don't be afraid of skills you don't know, because the first reaction when you don't know something, you reject. Yeah. No, and that's again, don't be afraid. Be honest. I don't understand, so I don't do it. I don't understand, so I don't do. No, that's not the right answer.
I like what you said. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of, and that's leverage. Is you like us right now is we can do this recorded podcast once, but it's going to be on the internet forever. It's a conversational leverage, honestly. Yeah. And it could be like there's no additional value that's required from you and me, from you and I, to put more into it if we want it to affect or apply or be useful for 10 people today or 100 people next year.
Correct.
And that's the beauty of technology, that we don't, whether this is the same through whether you're writing code or you're investing in capital, whatever it is, all these things have the potential to be multiplied by 1,000-fold, if not more, right?
Exactly.
Especially thanks to technology, AI, everything you're talking about. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's why I think the speed can be a little bit overwhelming, because it looks the last 5 years we had so many new acronym going up, making the buzz, and then going down. I mean, NFT, one of it, we talk about a lot, and then going down. So at the end, there is no difference. I said the world of 20 or 30 years ago is not much more different than today. It's only the speed that has increased.
Yeah, it's true.
The expectation that we have, it's different, but it's the speed that has changed. The speed.
And how comfortable are you with all the speed, would you say?
I mean, working in the technological space since many years, I feel quite comfortable, but I felt completely overwhelmed when I saw to have, when I was growing in my career, and I start to see people with knowledge that I was completely ignorant of that. And my first reaction was, oh my God, I need to start learning them. I said, no, you need to understand them, and bringing those people part of your team to enrich what you are doing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I believe I made the jump in terms of my leadership. He said, I don't know everything, but if I understand the key element and I bring the right expertise with me, it's gonna work. So I'm not afraid to having a 25 years old guy teaching me something, and maybe he's gonna need to lead certain element, which is fine. And this is the major thing. It's people need to go out from their only pattern, and you can learn from a 25 years old guy quite a lot if you're just ready to listen to him. And that's what I think has been the key, the compelling event when I start to see I can learn from anyone. I don't need to know everything by myself.
How beautiful is that? You always come up on top. Always.
Always. And I love that. It's quite interesting because I have different location. I have a certain location, for example, in where I have the average age of my team is very young. Mm-hmm. When I go there and I go out, I feel very highly energized, because I have this thing. I've heard many things that sometimes that make me think about, and I said, oh, what's amazing that?
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I love that. That's why it's something that I still passionate about working in a corporation, because I have this opportunity to meet different culture, meet different people and so on, but not traveling like before. That's why I changed my role in corporate world. Mm-hmm. But then I started to invest in some side business where I do it really because I'm passionate about it. Yeah. And then compensate for my ikigai, I still have, it's everything compensated in this one.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, or I think it's a quote, I read it somewhere, and it's, when you know everything, you're not good. You're only good when you allow yourself to make sense of things that don't. So in this case, AI, technology, all these things don't really make sense to us. But when we allow ourselves to be explained by someone younger than us, someone who may necessarily know more about that topic, one, like I said, we always come up on top. But two, we're finally making sense of those things that initially didn't. And I think we want to, you know, a lot of us, we want to do incredible things in this world. We want to do incredible things like you're doing. And how can you do something exceptional if you know the limit? Because if you say you know everything, you know the limit. You know what's impossible. So how can you create the impossible?
Very good observation.
If you know the impossible.
Yeah, very, very, very good observation. And there was a campaign for that's running now on internet. I saw it on Instagram.
What's it called?
It's about the Down syndrome.
Okay.
You know, of kids having Down syndrome, and it starts with a girl that has a Down syndrome speaking to a bartender.
Okay.
And it started, "Hey, dear bartender, if you assume I cannot drink alcohol, you will not serve me alcohol." So suddenly your assumption become reality. Mm. And they say, "Dear parents, if you assume I cannot live alone," and they behave in this way, at the end, I will not be able to live alone. Mm-hmm. So your assumption become reality.
Good point.
And then she said, "But what if you stop assuming on my behalf? And if I want to do everything what I want to do, it's by my own, suddenly I can make it also the reality."
Yeah, nice.
And it's so powerful. I don't have it right now, but I will share the link with you, because it's a few campaigns I've seen that are so powerful and so amazing. And at the end, the slogan is, "If I assume I will be able to do it, I might be able to do it." And that's amazing. And that's really amazing. So let the people this feeling that, hey, I can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and your belief about yourself is so key.
You know, that's why we said sometimes we don't need to talk about the unpleasant part. Yes, we can speak about the unpleasant part. But in the beginning, if you believe you will not be successful, stop it.
Yeah.
Dream at the beginning. Make your dream feasible. And then on the way, you're going to learn, hey, what should I do in order to avoid those risks to be there? So having those unpleasant conversation in day one, maybe not, but you go and dream for it. Yeah. Dream for it. But I'm going to share, because this campaign really impacted me.
Yeah, please share. I'll put it in the link in the YouTube description so we can share it. That's a beautiful thing. I like, you know, my dad says, my dad has many quotes that he says that I love, but one of my favorite quotes that he says about dreaming, you mentioned dreaming. One of them is, "Dreaming is free," one. And two, dreaming isn't only for kids. And I think it goes very well with what you were saying, that
completely.
I think your belief about yourself and your ability to do that, to make that dream feasible and a reality, is all about yourself. Like, your biggest bottleneck is you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. The biggest issue you can have is your own self-imposing beliefs.
But you know that Steve Jobs, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. That's why maybe I'm mentioning him a second time. Yeah. He was very a master, maybe to an extreme that was maybe not too ethical or correct, let's say this way. But he was able to create a field of distortion when he was communicating to the people. Yeah. To make them believe what he wanted, it's possible. So that's why he was maybe crossing a little bit the line of manipulation. Yeah. And that's maybe the part that I would questioning. But if you are able to create a field of distortion, to make the people feeling, yes, it is achievable, or to let them dream openly, that they can have their dream. You know, example of your father, dream is free. Yeah. So let's people dreaming about it. Yeah. Let's talk about it, but not having so typical people that they don't like people that dream. Oh no, that's not possible. We tried already many times. It has not been successful. And I said, I had so many people in my life that were saying to me, this is not possible. At the first reaction, I said, guys, let me understand why. We tried many times 5, 6, 7 years ago. I said, but you don't think that maybe if we do it slightly differently, we are in another period of time, we are having other element, we have all the technology, maybe we can make it happen. Yeah. So let's try again. So let's try again. What is insane is trying exactly the same and believing you're going to have another outcome. But sometimes trying a good idea with the right targets, you're going to be successful. You know, it's like when you look for an investor. Yeah, you're going to need to pitch many investors before you find the first investor that put money on your case. But please don't stop dreaming after the first no. You know, because if you believe in your idea, you dream about the idea, you make it happen, you're going to need sometimes to get some negative feedback. But you should continue.
And that's why quantity matters. Quantity matters. Like the quality will come from the quantity. And that's why you got to do it 100 times, 1,000 times. I think another issue, I think in my generation at least, and maybe you can tell me if you agree, is I think we think in too little output-wise. We think very little in like, oh, I'll do it 5, even 10 times. And we think that's a lot. And as a result, because everything happens so quickly, you know, with social media, everything is very quick. 30 seconds videos, everything is very quick. So I don't know if that's why, but I think because of it, when things, you know, go wrong once, twice, maybe 3 or even 5 times, we're like, you know what? I've done it too many times. And I think that's the mistake, man. What if you did it, like you said, what if you did it 100 times? I'm sure you're way more likely to make it happen. Yeah. But it's that chip that you got to change at the beginning before doing it and telling yourself, I'm going to do it 100 times. Not 5, I'm going to do it 100. Then your expectation is changed and your assumption is changed. Yeah, which goes back to what you were saying.
I think you bring a very important topic, and
she got comfortable with you. She had to do her appearance, Jonny. She had to. Every time she has to at least appear.
She deserves. She's so beautiful. So no, look, I do believe that you are right. You know, things. You know, there is a kind of feeling when we look at social network that things come very easily. You know, it's look everything so light. Open a YouTube channel.
It's all overnight.
Overnight, you know, and oh my God, it is not working. So, but you need to insist, continue. You need to have a kind of perseverance and being comfortable with adversity. Being comfortable that sometimes something doesn't work. And if you believe on your ideas, if you are passionate about your idea, if you really make sure that this is what you're doing, is, you know, again, the ikigai, continue doing it. Don't drop it. Don't drop it. And this is something that sometimes I feel that in the newer generation, you expect the success too quickly. And sometimes it takes time. And if it takes time, don't lose the trust in yourself. Maybe ask yourself, what should I do differently to make it happen? What should I change? But again, also if you go, I think again the topic of investor, maybe you're going to pitch the same pitch every time. But maybe every time you're going to make a pitch to one investor, you need to understand, and we come again to listening, to understand what is the profile of this investor? What should I say? What does he want me to hear about it? And then you adapt your pitch to what he wants to listen.
Well said.
But repeating. The more you repeat, the more you can understand. And don't give up too quickly. And that's, I tend to agree that I feel people getting in anxiety or depression too quickly because they are putting for themselves at the bar maybe too high, and they expect to have the result too quickly, and it doesn't work. And you are working in a gym, you know, you don't get fit from one day to another. You don't stay fit by just being fit when you are 20. Every day you need to train. So that's applied for your body. That's applied for your mind. Now a lot of people are conscious and they are making meditation. So if it works for your body and your mind, that you need to be perseverance. So why not doing for your business, for your your dream,
and for your or even for your relationship?
Yeah.
For everything, like put like with every passing day. Not only, yes, you said before you're gonna make the same pitch over and over, but I think the pitch you're making over and over is also getting better and better because you're comparing it to yesterday. You got the non-verbal cue, the verbal cue of whatever the potential investor reacted on. You take it and you apply it to the next person and the next person and the next person.
You know, it's like I like to see when, you know, I'm playing piano.
Okay.
When I was a little
I love
boy.
that you're bringing in music. I was going to bring it to music now. So you read my mind, Jonny.
Fantastic. Yeah, we are connected.
We are.
You know, with the age of 8, I started playing piano.
Wow.
You know, I had to learn first how to read the notes and so on, of course. Then I had to start playing songs that I didn't like, you know, very boring and so on. But with the time, the more you train, and when you want to learn a new song, you need to practice all the time. Yeah. But I love to see that today in the internet there is a lot of new method to learn piano in a quicker manner, that very quickly you can create this little satisfaction.
Yes.
You know, for example, with 4 or 5 chords you can already play maybe 10 of 20 songs. And I love to see this innovation also in the way of learning and teaching. But again, it comes to training and practices. So don't give up. And I think you're right. It applies in everything. It applies for your relationship, for your business idea, for yourself, for your body and your mind. Because for me, that's very important that you have a mind and a body which are healthy.
Yes.
So it is really good that perseverance apply to everything.
Yes. And I think this ties in very well to what we mentioned at the beginning, that we're ever evolving.
Yeah.
That as we evolve, so do our dreams, our goals, and I think that's what's so cool. It's a constant game of improvement, a constant game of iteration, and a constant game of just learning from yesterday and applying it to the next day, and so on and so forth. Right?
Correct.
And the reason I got so happy that you brought in music was because at the end of every episode, and I know it's already been a long time, I'm mindful of. I know that you're a busy guy. I'm so grateful, Jonny, for the wisdom, the words. You're kind man. You have a beautiful energy. You're always smiling also, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it, man. I love it. But the
Smile
reason
doesn't cost anything like dreams, you see.
that's the second thing my dad says. Dreaming is free, smiling is free. You know? But the thing that I love to ask my guests at the end of every episode is related to music. Why? Because I'm a huge music fan. I think that the biggest thing that, as I told you before, the reason I've been involved in the social world and why I love social interaction so much is that I found that the number one thing that you can talk with somebody, whether you know them or not, or have maybe zero connection with them, doesn't matter the age, the race, the gender, nothing, is music. I truly believe, like if right now with you, I see, let's say at the beginning of the conversation, I would have struggled to find a topic of interest, I would have found music. Like my number one secret to every time I want to talk to anybody, you want to hit on a girl, you want to talk to that businessman, you want to talk to someone, doesn't matter who, mention music. Because somebody has an opinion on music. And the same can be said about movies, the same can be said. But for me, specifically music, because that's the thing I know the most about. So I love that you brought piano, and I wanted to ask, what role does music play in your life as a listener, as a consumer of music? How often do you use it? Use it to work out, at the gym?
Yeah, for me there is I cannot train without music.
Oh wow!
Even if I go to the gym, I don't have my AirPods.
Out.
It's not going to be a good training session. It's impossible. And that may be the moment in life. I know that a lot of people say, oh my God, it's so boring before you were going to the gym to meet people. No, for me, music, it's what motivates me. Music is what gives me the rhythm. Yeah. And when I'm training, I'm listening very electronic music. Okay. It's I like very high energy music. Where also I love when sometimes I want to just have fun. For me, music, it's adapted to my mood. Mm-hmm. I feel sometimes just to sit down on the couch, reading a book, and listening to jazz music.
Nice.
It's something that is still. And then when I want to connect, I listen to Italian music. Italian music from my childhood, from the 80s, from the 90s, and so I would say that for me, music is something that follow me according where I am. Wow. But I cannot work with music. That's something for me. It is. I cannot. It's just something. It's over me. When I have music, for me, it's something to be distracted. When I need to focus, for me, music is what bring me more freedom. Willing to dance or willing to sing or willing to play, to listen to myself. Sometimes, it's to freedom, to disconnect. Mm-hmm. And when I'm focused on working, music is distracting me. For example, and you see that in my way. I cannot park my car if I have the music too loud. I need to switch off the music when I park my car. Wow. Every time. I'm 47, since more than 19 years. I have this topic. When I'm parking the car, back, I switch off the music. I don't know.
That's funny. That's a fun fact.
Because music bring me in a very
joyful mood.
A joyful mood. I don't want to pay attention and so on. There are certain people.
Yeah, that's cool. I used to listen to music all the time, man. Yeah. Every time I studied, I needed my music. Every time I worked, I needed my music. But now I'm becoming more like that, where I need to actually focus.
Yeah, but there are people that, for example, they love to have a room with 2 loudspeakers. They sit and they listen, closing their eyes and listening. And they want to try to identify the cello, the violin, the piano. They love this. For me, this is not what when I want to listen to music, I want to enjoy. And I want to enjoy the words, the sounds, and so on. So music has a very important role in my life.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you for sharing that. And then So what's one artist or maybe one song? The question I always end, the last question, Johnny, the question I always end is I always love to play the outro of the podcast is a 30-second song that plays that means a lot to you. It doesn't have to be a song that you love today. It could have been one you loved 19 years ago or one that you love today. It doesn't matter. There's no rule. Just want to say what song comes to mind. Right now I'm saying this, something must have come to mind. So what is that one song, Mr. Johnny?
Oh, wow. I mean, for that one, I would say definitely one of my song that I quite love is.
Yes, so
okay,
you're saying
to your question. I mean, if there is one song that I really love is Caruso.
By who?
Caruso, Lucio Dalla.
Caruso.
But I love the version that half Canadian. I think she's also Canadian now. That she sings is Lara Fabian.
Okay.
She's singing the song Caruso. I love her version of Caruso.
So should I play hers?
Oh yeah. Find Lara Fabian Caruso. It's a song that for me, it connects me with. I love her voice. Caruso has been sung also by Pavarotti, by Andrea Bocelli. I think every great singer once or another has need to sing Caruso.
Okay.
But Lara Fabian, and she's half Canadian. She has Italian origins, also a little bit connected with you and me also, and your father.
I love that.
So that's the one.
So Lara Fabian.
Lara Fabian.
Caruso. Which means what?
Caruso is it's like it's just a name. It's,
okay.
But I love the letter of these songs.
Okay.
And when Lara Fabian sings this song, she's just amazing. She's just perfect.
Beautiful.
Just perfect.
So we're currently listening to Lara Fabian or to Caruso by Lara Fabian.
Exactly.
Johnny, thank you for your time. It's a true pleasure. We'll do this again. I really appreciate your time.
I felt at home.
Thank you, Johnny. Much love.
E sono i notti là in America, erano solo le lampade bianche scie di un'elica. Senti il dolore nella musica, si alzò dal piano forte, ma quando vidi uscire il